In this update, I have the latest details on a spring storm system bringing impacts from severe weather to snow to the country this weekend and into next week. I'll also talk about temperatures. All of that's coming up right here in the next 8 to 10 minutes, so stick around. I want to start this video by overviewing the strong storm. It is set to exit parts of the west as we go within 24 to 48 hours after I'm posting this video, and then move across parts of the central plains all the way to the east coast from around Saturday and Saturday night to our Monday and Monday night time frame. Along with that storm, we'll have to watch some wintry weather along its northern end with either a mix of some types of precipitation, including some of that wintry weather, or just some general snowfall bordering with those states that hit Canada, and then all the way on over there into the northeastern parts of the U.S. We'll also have to watch rain, showers, and storms, even possibly some severe storms that could get going anywhere from the south central plains and the mid-Mississippi Valley, getting closer on over towards parts of Tennessee, Kentucky, and the East Coast. All of this I'll cover in more detail as we start this timeline right now. The timeline for this particular storm system, of course, is going to start out of parts of the Pacific Northwest and into the northern Mountain West, where as we go out of our Friday when I'm recording this and into this time frame, our Saturday, March 22nd, 2025 in the afternoon, we'll be watching some light lower elevation rain and then some light to moderate snow as you go on up in elevation in these zones where I'm hashing it out. From Idaho and Montana back down into some parts of Wyoming and Colorado, be on the lookout for some at least low to medium end winter storm impacts as this quickly pushes on through our Saturday as well as our Saturday evening. Quickly though, as we go overnight, Saturday night and into our Sunday morning, we're going to watch the low pressure associated with this fairly weak system transitioning on out over parts of the central plains, where we're going to have a couple of things we'll be watching as we wake up on our Sunday morning here in some of these zones. Low pressure centered around parts of the Dakotas, Nebraska, Iowa, and Minnesota will be leading to some rain showers in a lot of these spots, but the further north you go on up there closer to the North Dakota and northern Minnesota region, that's where we're going to have the potential not only for some snow, but also more of that sleet or freezing rain, mixed wintry precipitation. That could definitely cause some slick spots, especially as some of this will be ongoing around the time that you wake up on our Sunday. Back down further to the south, a different trouble spot we'll have to be watching is possibly hail that could be denting any cars that are exposed and out in the open here into the early part of our Sunday, as we will have at least the isolated potential for some severe weather from supercells that will be rotating. But the good news is they will be rotating far enough off the ground that we're likely not going to see any tornadoes out of this activity as we come out of parts of Kansas and Oklahoma into Missouri and northern Arkansas. That is again going to be during the early Sunday morning time frame, before more parts of the Mississippi Valley see showers and storms through the day Sunday. And then we get our second round of possible severe weather along the cold front as it continues to the east. Really anywhere along and ahead of that line that I just drew out, at least some isolated severe weather could be possible, with the best chance as you go further back down towards the lower Mississippi Valley in the mid-south, unfortunately in a zone that's been hit pretty hard with a recent tornado outbreak. Not looking for any more severe weather, but we could even see a few tornadoes out of this, so be on the lookout for that. As we go through the end of our Sunday, we'll also be watching some snow on up in parts of Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan around that time, and eventually some of that snow will at least kick off this event before it transitions to rain as we go out of Sunday into Monday over places like New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts. It looks like Maine might try to stay all snow out of this event as it gets closer to the East Coast, but in addition to that wintry weather, we'll continue to watch more of this shower and storm coverage, getting closer to the Gulf Coast and the East Coast of the U.S. as we go out of Sunday night into Monday. While there could be some isolated severe weather in this, particularly closer to the Gulf Coast, I think as we go through the day Monday, a lot of this will be weaker. The system itself is weak all along, and as it gets off the East Coast, we will really begin to see things clear out for most spots by the time we go out of our Monday night and into our Tuesday morning. Now that I've overviewed the storm, I do want to focus a little bit more on some of these specific details, starting with severe weather, as I'm going to use this level 0 to level 7 severe weather scale I've made to first highlight the severe weather that we could see overnight Saturday and then into the early part of our Sunday. So this is March 22nd into the early part of March 23rd, where isolated wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour will be possible. Some isolated large hail looks to be a likely threat, and then maybe even a spin-up tornado couldn't be ruled out, especially surrounding Kansas and Missouri with some of these overnight storms. Make sure if you have a garage or a carport that you're moving your vehicles under those just in case this hail causes a problem and wreak some havoc, let's just say that, as we go into the early part of Sunday. Speaking of Sunday, as we go deeper into the day as well as into Sunday night, severe weather won't end. We'll get another round that could form, especially around the lower Mississippi Valley and Mid-South, where as high as a level 3 of 7 for severe weather is surrounding places like Memphis, Tennessee, all the way back down into eastern Texas and points in between, with widely scattered damaging winds, some isolated large hail continuing to be possible, and even some tornadoes becoming a risk as a result of lower level jet stream winds veering off a little bit from what's going to be going on further up in the atmosphere. That's certainly something we'll have to watch. I don't think this is going to be a tornado outbreak, but we could definitely see a few tornadoes getting embedded in broken lines of storms. That looks to be the current mode for that severe weather threat. Now let's talk a little bit more about the winter weather side of this storm in detail, and I'm going to do that with these 24-hour increments of snowfall with this blended guidance from your European ensembles. You can see as we go from the increment of tonight at 8 p.m. to around our Saturday night, it is looking like we're going to get some decent snowfall through some of the higher elevations of the west, but in many cases it won't be much more than 3 to 6, maybe upwards of 8 inches of snow. Nothing to write home about, especially for Mountain West high elevation standards. We're going to get a decent late season snow here into some parts of Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan, though, as you come out of the northeastern part of Minnesota into the Arrowhead, through a lot of the northern two-thirds of Wisconsin, and then through the upper peninsula and northern half of the Gulf of Michigan, upwards of 2 inches of snow, pretty much likely over all of these zones. Many spots in those deeper blues expecting upwards of 4 to 6, with some spots getting closer to 8 to 10 inches. It's going to be a pretty decent snowfall event for this time of the year over parts of the upper Midwest and Great Lakes, and we'll at least get some snow before some of these totals turn over to rain, with at least a few inches possible before any transitions in places like New York, Vermont, New Hampshire. Maine could stay all snow, and you could get at least a few inches out of whatever you see there. Maybe we'll trend up even more by the time we get closer to this event, and some spots in Maine will get closer to half a foot. We'll see how that pans out. With that being said, that leaves me only temperature trends to talk about, at least for the next few days of weather here. Let's start with our Saturday, March 22nd of 2025, where we're generally going to be watching warmer than average temperature conditions building up, especially over parts of the Central Plains in the southwestern U.S., where we've got 80s down here along the U.S.-Mexico border from California and Arizona all the way on over to Texas, and even into some of these zones that will eventually get some of that severe weather potential late Saturday into Saturday night. We've got plenty of 70s moving up into these zones, at least during the peak heating of the day, in places like Oklahoma, Arkansas, on up into places like Kansas and Missouri. On the flip side, we do have a little bit of cooler air to the north and east of this line I'm drawing, as we've got plenty of 30s and 40s through parts of the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley, even the interior northeast for peak highs Saturday, as a result of continued troughing behind some dips in the jet stream that have been moving through behind a lot of recent systems. Some of that cooler air, of course, will continue in that northern part of the country as we go into our Sunday, as we'll be watching snow anywhere from North Dakota all the way to Maine by the time we get from the start of the day Sunday and then through the overnight part of Sunday night. Further down to the south, though, we're smooth sailing with the warmer spring-like temperatures continuing. Around this area here, plenty of 60s all the way on up from parts of the Midwest, getting over towards the Mid-Atlantic. Further south from there, a lot of 70s from Oklahoma and Arkansas, all the way on down here into the Mid-South and Southeast. Some of these zones, of course, could have that severe weather potential deeper into the day Sunday. 70s and 80s will be at least supportive of that moderate into severe weather event that we'll certainly have to watch. Into our Monday, we're warming up even more further west while we continue some of the troughing in the east. You can really see that trend cooling down some for around the northeastern quadrant of the country, while the west has ridging sending 70s and some of the lower elevations as high up into some parts of the Mountain West as places like Montana, back on over towards Washington, east of the Cascade Range. It is going to be a very warm day there in those southeastern Washington valleys, so look out. We've got more warm spring weather on the way, and it will continue to build into more parts of the country, even some of those zones that will be cool to start the week as we go deeper into the week. With that being said, we are now at the end of this video, where I'd love to have you hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to this channel so that you catch more updates from me in the future. On your screen now is a thumbnail that I might have on this channel in the future as I start a series of historical weather analysis videos, and what these videos would entail is something like what I'm showing on screen, possibly comparing an event like 2024, where we had a severe weather outbreak mid-March, to the severe weather outbreak that we just had here in mid-March. Similar days, similar areas in 2025. I'll possibly be covering that in a video that could be out sometime here within the next few days or within the next few weeks. We'll see how fast I work on that. It will depend on how active the weather is beyond this current storm across the U.S. Either way, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button down below, and I'll catch you in the next update.